Books make you hope. Books make you dream. Books make you laugh. Books make you scream. This is the Books That Make You show, discussing books with authors and experts, unraveling the inner pages of all the books that help make us who we are. Hosted by Desiree Duffy.
It is time for us to get booky with it. Welcome everyone to Books That Make You. I'm Desiree Duffy, and we are talking about books that make you understand the unique challenges that we all face. Like it or not, our identities present each of us with challenges. Now, understanding the ones that we face personally is one thing, and understanding the challenges others face, well, that's another. We tend to have a lot of misconceptions about other religions, genders, ethnicities, people from different economic statuses than us, and so much more. So, let's talk about that today. Our guest is an entrepreneur, mentor, investor, motivational speaker, and he's somebody who helps transform and educates others with his personal story. And particularly, he focuses on today's youth. His book is called This Ain't My Life. And in it, through his own narrative, he shares his story in an effort to inspire others to live their best life. He's faced hardships, including having a very difficult childhood, as well as unique challenges as a black Muslim man. Wildly creative, he is a key figure in the music industry, having performed at such venues as the world-famous Apollo Theater and the Nets Arena. He's worked with, a who's who list like Shanice and LL Cool J, Big Daddy Kane, Gang Starr, and so many more. His book is one that takes us on an eye-opening journey through the life of Bilal Alaji. Bilal, hello. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Oh, my goodness. What a beautiful introduction.
Well, what a beautiful book you have written. I am so enjoying This Ain't My Life. And I was riveted from the beginning, learning about your childhood and growing up as a black Muslim man. But you were also raised Muslim. You weren't a convert. And I think that's important for people to understand. Can you tell us about your life growing up on the East Coast?
Absolutely. So just to begin, you stated that I wasn't a convert. And for some people, they don't understand what that narrative means. To be I'm a third generation Muslim, and whenever someone thinks of the word Muslim, automatically they think of someone who is of Arab descent or someone who comes from, these third world countries like Pakistan, even some parts of Africa. But there is a large population of black Muslims that have been second and third generation Muslims that are right here in North America. And so the last time a book was done like this was the Autobiography of Malcolm X. But the difference between his story is that he actually converted to Islam. And that's how my book even starts. It starts by me sharing that intimate portrayal of how I was named, the character I'm named after, which has deep Islamic heritage and roots. So I just wanted to let everyone know when they were, getting into the story that, yes, this is a very intimate portrayal of who I am and my being from its inception.
And that's something that's interesting, too. Even in reading your book, I never realized that a child is named several days after their birth because the parents want to have an opportunity to find out who they are. Can you explain
That's right.
that? Yeah, explain that a little bit. That's interesting.
Right. So that's Muslim culture. That's how culture is in Islam. And they also practice this in Africa as well. There's a lot of African traditions that do the same thing. And you'll notice that with anyone that is from Nigeria or certain other parts of Africa, their name will reflect either the day they were born on or part of a ceremony that took place around that time. And you'll try to understand, why did they name you that? But it has a lot of context with waiting to see the child's behaviors and waiting to see what did the child reflect. And it was so important to have a name that you will be able to grow into, not just a name that someone said, oh, this will sound nice or look nice for you. It was something that you could carry on throughout your life journey.
So have you lived into your name?
Absolutely. My name, as I did more and more research about it, initially I'm named after a figure of Islamic culture who walked with Prophet Muhammad, and he was the caller to prayer. Bilal of Arabia. And I expound on him a little bit in the book, but I come to learn that his name also meant to be one who refreshes an environment. It also means, it has a connotation of like water. It just means refreshing, one who enlightens and brings new energy into a space. And so I've always been like that my whole life, and I never understood why until I got much older and I learned more deeper understanding of what my name really brought about and what it meant.
Can you tell us, why is it important for others to know your story?
I think that all of us have a story, and I say this in my epilogue. It's not just so much about one story. I think we're living in an age now where more people are willing to share, and they've gone through enough obstacles. Everyone is looking for that prime purpose to bring them to that next stage or that next evolvement in their life. And so hearing a story, just like since we were talking briefly about religion and talking about my background, Islam shares many stories inside of the Holy Quran about different prophets, and they give us all these narratives. The Holy Bible does the same thing, where you learn about Moses, you learn about Joseph, you learn about all these different characters and prophets that walked. And why is that so important? Because they shared their story. And so now you come to the layman, or just the average man and woman who goes through things very privately and quietly. But what I learned is through my experiences, especially for Black males, we go through things silently. And because of that silence, it causes us more pain. And we're not learning from each other how to overcome these obstacles. So me transcending myself to a point of vulnerability and being able to understand that vulnerability and how to transform that vulnerability into strength has been the new catalyst for me. It has been the new remarkable, groundbreaking opening, the silver lining, so to say, where I can find the light at the end of the tunnel to inspire others who may have went through some of the conditions that I speak about in my story.
And this message is especially poignant to youth. I have to imagine I'm about as opposite of a Black Muslim man as you can get. But I can imagine that, like you're saying, if men, especially young men, are taught or felt that they need to internalize and keep things inside, your message to them is being more open. Can you talk about that?
Yes, not only being more open, but being at a space where the openness that you just referred to is an internal openness, where it allows you to accept external openness. A lot of people close off advice. They close off anyone who can give them words of encouragement because they are only within their own space. And when they're within their own space, they don't allow outside forces to come in to help them, to teach them, because they're so guarded. So when you begin to let that go and you begin to open yourself up to new experiences, new understanding, that's when you allow yourself to take in, it's like the flower. The flower needs many different things. It doesn't just need sunlight. It needs air, it needs water, it needs different elements for it to grow to its magnificence. So that's what you do when you allow yourself to, per se, open up a little bit more. You allow those different elements to come to you to help you to grow.
And you've done a lot of practical things to support youth and uplift others. Can you talk and tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So I've worked for many years with youth inside of different arenas, whether it was transitional housing, whether it was correctional setting. I've worked as a mentor in all different types of facets. But the main thing that I've learned over my experiences is that youth are always constantly looking for ways to connect. And I think the disconnect between the elders and the youth is where we're finding a lot of our problems. And the word that's really jumping out to me right now is emotional intelligence. And anyone who doesn't know what emotional intelligence is, it's basically the science of being able to connect with someone else's experiences, although it may not be yours. Just as you have no idea what a Black Muslim man's experience is, but your emotional intelligence is allowing you the space and the integrity to hear and do your best to identify from your perspective those experiences. And when you're able to do that, that's when you're able to see something from someone else's perspective, which gives you a much broader sense of what they are experiencing. Today's youth are looking for us to be more to use that emotional intelligence in a way to understand them. And it is our jobs to connect with them in that way. So I just came from I was a guest panelist at a men's group. And we talked about steel sharpening steel, and it was a conversation for Black men. And in that panel discussion, we talked to the youth, and we were working on ways of bridging that gap.
And so your message and what you're doing, yes, it's geared toward youth, but older people, older men, also need to understand this message because they're the ones who need to understand the youth and reach out and connect to them.
Absolutely. I would say my message is actually probably geared more so toward just men in general, because all ages of men are suffering. And unfortunately, as I was saying earlier, men have not learned the practicum of being vulnerable. Women do such a wonderful job. You guys have talk groups. You're so open and willing to share. You got your girlfriends. And men, we were taught a different way. And for a long time, we were molded by society. And it doesn't matter your walk of life or walk of faith. I've found that this problem has seeped into all aspects of male culture. And it's the word, it's a Spanish word. It's called machismo. And it pretty much means being macho all the time, and never being able to show your vulnerability, never being able to show your weakness. You have no chink in your armor. And because of that, men walk around with masks on, and these masks only mask, per se, their inner feelings. And we know that that's not true. Men are very emotional creatures, just as women are. And they have to have outlets and positive ways to express those emotions without causing public outlash or committing crimes or becoming physical or aggressive. These are things that men have been doing over shorter periods of time because of not knowing how to express those inner emotions.
And I can say as a woman that we actually want men to talk. We want them to confide in us and show a little emotion. It's usually the macho guy, like you were just talking about, that we almost see as either unattractive. In some cases, if it's taken to an extreme, it's almost a parody. It's almost comical. So a lot of times, to speak honestly, when a man is just real and honest and open, we respond as women more to that than anything else.
Absolutely. And think about what you just said. That truly is the connection. The connection is being able to identify with each other. Again, that's that word, emotional intelligence, to be able to understand the woman on a entirely different level. And because men have been somewhat archaic, this is where our evolution comes in. This is where we have to evolve to be able to connect with women on those levels that you're mentioning. For relationship purposes, but more so for a male's evolution, it is so necessary for him to come out of that machismo and begin to evolve into emotional intelligence, being able to evolve into understanding the true fiber of himself so that he can offer that to the rest of his community and to the world.
And there should also be some evolution within our society as well, and even the court system. And I know that this is something that you've struggled with. And often it seems that black men, can really face some challenges on that front. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, this was a very, very dark period of my life. The court system is something that, for the most part, Black men are not understanding how to deal with an ex-partner and deal with getting into this convoluted system and being able to navigate it in a way where there is, both parties could be amicable, but yet there is some form of victory for both. It should be a win-win situation. And instead of it being that, it has turned into a way of breaking up families and totally destroying them because the male ends up not seeing his child. The woman uses the court system in a way to, I would say, be vindictive and to hurt the male. The male becomes so frustrated and upset, he goes into hiding and trying to get off the grid and avoid the system. And it just becomes a way that the family becomes completely broken up. And then, this goes on long enough and you have a 16, 17-year-old kid that now doesn't even like their parent, which would be their father. So I've been working very hard to teach younger men and any male that enters into the child support system or court criminal system how to be more prepared about the laws, being more prepared about their rights, understanding what their end game is and what they're seeking to do, how they could be more amicable with their partner. They don't necessarily even need to go to the courts. They have arbitration and mediation. There are things that can be done where the woman can trust you and can believe that you will be a stand-up guy. And that was the reason why the court system came into effect in the first place, because honestly, men just weren't living up to the expectation of caring for their ex-family. So the court system came in and said, look, we'll help. But now it's become so, I would even use the word is saying almost a pandemic of doing the opposite of what it was actually set out to do. So it kind of needs to be readdressed, and it can start with men. Yeah. Men being better informed, men having a better understanding of what they want to do in that situation, because I don't agree with blaming this all on women. I just don't. I don't agree with blaming this all on anyone. Men need to be held accountable. They need to understand what it is they're seeking, and they need to be a woman. In my experience, a woman will not go to these levels if she can trust you, if she feels that she can be someone that she can rely on you. So having that in mind and you being able to, again, like you were saying, communicate. You're able to communicate with this woman and say, look, these are the things I want to do. And I talk about this in the book. I talk about how both parties can just set their expectations. And when they set those expectations, it is such a good groundworking system when you put all the chips out on the table in the beginning. It's always bad when you're doing all of that behind the scenes because people feel violated or they feel there's a piece of mistrust. But when you put all of that in the open and in the front, it lays a better foundation for how you want to go about dealing with co-parenting.
Exactly. And I think that what's important and what you were touching on right there is when you're communicating with your ex, it's so important for you to trust each other and believe in each other. And it really is for the best interest of the child. We hear that mantra over and over again. And for both parties to realize that, well, you might want to have some kind of custody arrangement officially in place just so people have an understanding. Once you start getting into that court system, that's designed to make money. The lawyer that you hire is there to make money. The mediators, the system, they're not necessarily there to put an end to something. A lot of times that perpetuates and it goes on and on and on. So in the beginning, realize that you might be doing this not even for just months, for years and years, and it's going to drain on you. So in the beginning, if you can come to an understanding, it is just so much better than having to endure that for such a long time.
Absolutely. And just to retouch on what you're saying, because you hit the nail, you hit it really good. And to add a little bit more to that, to say that look at over the last couple of years, we've had all types of men murdering their wives. The situation out in California, I forget what the gentleman's name was, but he had a pregnant wife that he murdered. There was a couple of other murders not too long after that one.
Mm-hmm. And Scott Peterson, I think.
Scott Peterson, that's it. So when you think about all those situations, do you know these were all domestic situations where he was trying to get away from his relationship? He wanted to be with another woman. And it all boils down to what we're talking about. So he saw in his life like, oh, man, I'm going to have to deal with this woman all these years. She's going to take me to the mill. I'm going to be going through the court system. It's never going to be over. So he, unfortunately, decided to do that on his own. And this is the story for a lot of men who are making poor decisions, who are not able to have an outlet, a discussion group, a men's awareness group where we can talk and give better insight, give better understanding to everything that you just brought up. Because, yes, it is going to be a long, drawn-out, expensive experience. And it can all be avoided by putting your ego to the side, keeping your child out in front, and being able to, under all circumstances, realize that, look, you don't have to like each other. You don't even have to care about each other. But at the end of the day, you need to respect that this is the other parent. You need to get to an understanding that we can co-parent a child, because I know my child still loves you. I may not love you, but I need to respect you. And too many, I don't know if it's a societal problem, but we need to come back from that and, kind of woosah, regroup, and really just put another framework on how we can break up and still move on with our lives. And that's why I think that it's so important to talk about our own junk, talk about our own closet, because when you can look at yourself and not continue to point the finger at everyone else, then you can see like maybe it's not everyone else. Maybe you have something to do with this, because if you've been through 3 or 4 relationships, you have 2 or 3 babies' mothers, and you're going through the same thing with 2 or 3 babies' mothers, maybe it's not them. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're somewhere in that piece, because all 3 or 4 of them can't be people who you can't get along with. So you have to come back and look at yourself. And that's why me writing the book about This Ain't My Life, it's a way for you to take accountability. It's a way for you to find your own purpose in life. And how do you do that? You have to look internally first. We all got that Alice in a Wonderland rabbit hole that we need to go into, and it's called self. You got to go into your own rabbit hole and kind of look into what you have going on so that you can clean your area out, bring some better energy and better vibration around you, and allow the universe to just open up to you and hug you and embrace you and bring everything that you want in life that you're calling to you. And you can do that by changing your mindset, changing your thought, changing how you feel about yourself. And I give all the pointers, all the ways that you can do that within the book.
That is so right on. Okay, Bilal, you're very integrated in a lot of different things. It's exciting because you're also part of the music industry, and you're an entrepreneur. You have all of these different creative ventures going on. Can we talk a little bit about some of those too before we're done here?
Absolutely. So I spent, I would say, more than 20 years as a recording artist. And that was my true love, my true passion. That's how I found my voice. That was my way of expressing all the things that I was going through in life. And anything that I wanted to say, I found it through that form of artistry. And to this day, I still find joy in hearing other artists and being able to mentor them. I'm probably more at the stage of doing artist development, but I still find myself in that space, inspiring and being able to use my music in a way to touch people. I wrote a track called Committed, where I talked about relationships. I talk about various different social issues within my artistry. And then, you have your fun songs, you play, and, you get your groove on. But I was able to travel. I was able to be amongst a lot of influential people and express myself in a way that I probably would not have been able to do because of my religious background and because of just who I was as a person. I'm not really an open person like that because of my astrological sign. I'm a Virgo, and Virgos can be sometimes very reclusive. But I found strength in being extroverted and being able to just use that artistry to touch many people. And I still have that music available. People are still listening to it, requesting it. I still find myself doing venues. And as far as my entrepreneurial background, as I was kind of coming to my decline in music, I didn't want that to define me. So I found myself saying, look, what are some of the other passions that you had? And I always wanted to excel in business. So I went and I achieved my MBA, and I went ahead and I started 2 business ventures, and I started investing and doing positive things with my cash flow, Again, this is back to the vision you have for yourself. And I think this is very important that I mention this. There are times in your life that things may not go the way you wanted them to go, right? Everything does not go according to plan. And sometimes for some of us, we when we're let down or we look at things as a failure, we let that moment define us. And so you become depressed. You begin to lose luster in your life. You're no longer that person with that shine and that motivation. And as I was coming to the decline of my music industry, my music path, I was that person. I was starting to become depressed, and I was like, man, I failed. And, what do I do next? And so I needed to get another, sunny location for me to travel to. And I did that. I didn't allow one thing to define me. I found pleasure and positivity in being able to disperse myself in many platforms and industries. And that was always the vision I had for myself ever since I was 8 years old. I saw myself that way. But my problem was I just didn't go towards it. And as I got, more into my adult prime, that's when I realized, man, you need to fulfill those things that you said you wanted to do. And music was just one part of it.
The book, again, is called This Ain't My Life. And I think this book obviously is written for today's youth, but as a white woman on the West Coast talking to a black man on the East Coast, obviously, because we can hear the sirens in the background. It has a universal appeal. It really does. This is something that I think makes a great gift around the holidays, as somebody that you can give to young people and old people. So tell people where they can find the book, where they can find you online, social media, Give us all your details.
Oh, absolutely. If you're looking to find me, you can reach me at www.bilalalaji.com. That's the website. I'm on Twitter. That would be at Alaji Bilal. I'm on Facebook. You could just type in Bilal Alaji on Facebook. You'll find me there. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm everywhere. But primarily, I believe you will have one of the best experiences by going to the website. I am doing all kinds of raffles and giveaways. There's an audio book. I think you'll absolutely love how the audiobook translates all of the elements of the story. You'll really understand the feeling and the emotion of the story. And I just wanted to say before closing that one of the best lines that I love from the book that I believe translates so well with everyone, it's the very last line of the book. If I had an elevator pitch for what the story is about, this is exactly what it would say. If the reality you see is not what you desire it to be, then simply proclaim, this ain't my life.
Oh, that is awesome. Bilal Alaji, and I'll spell that really quick too, so people when they're Googling you and looking for your website, they know. Yeah, it's Bilal-Alaji. Bilal, thank you so much for being with me on the show today. I enjoyed our conversation so much.
Oh, thank you for having me. And believe me, I plan to continue to do this work and continue to be out here spreading this message until I feel that my legacy has been received.
Right on. I love it. I love it. Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for listening today. My name is Desiree Duffy, and this is the Books That Make You show. And you can find out more about us. Just go to the website, booksthatmakeyou.com. As well, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Sign up for our newsletter. We're always giving away books, and we have lots of bookish fun things happening all the time. So join our community as well. And my friends, until next time, please enjoy all of the books that make you exactly who you are.
The executive producer for Books That Make You is Desiree Duffy. Produced and sound mastered by Phil Giangrande. Engineering by Dave Nabox. Social media and promotion by Bree Sweeter. For more, visit booksthatmakeyou.com.